Okay. Is it on? Alright. Hello, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Last where we left off, we had managed to defend good old Ginny from being prosecuted and possibly hanged for the falsified death of the fat man who always carried a gun and threatened to kill himself. That guy, yeah. So it turned out, if memory recalls, the brickmaker's son was actually the killer. He was going in there to try to find the last remnants of McGilded's property, only to accidentally, well, I guess not accidentally, it was more reactive, but he shot back at the store owner, which resulted in him getting killed. But he got ratted out essentially by the two goons that who he used to live with in the slums. And then those guys, I think, actually ratted him out. But anyways, we're going to continue in our new game to finish the second half of this game. Oh, what a lovely day. Oh no.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself faced with another crime. Brother, what? Oh yeah, that lady.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
What? Wait, Susato-san is now a lawyer? What?
So please, I ask
Oh,
for your
shit.
guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Kazuma-sama. Oh, wow. I love this. I love this already. So she's a lawyer now, and we're trying to solve the mystery of the antagonist from the first case? Brother. The blossoming attorney. Okay. August 13th, 8:26 a.m. The Supreme Court of Judicature Defendants Antechamber 3. God, that is a hard Judicature? I don't know. Here I am again, after 9 months. The Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Oh, good. You're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes. Good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, counsel. But you look as white as a sheet. And those wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous. I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I had never been born. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Eugene Mikatoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumi University. A man who earlier in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Okay. would I be correct in thinking that you are to be my lawyer in court today? Hmm? Yes. Yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Ray Membami, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. We're getting a little bit of a, what is it called? Yaoi vibe? Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work. What do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we could relax. Disguise? Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing him. Wait, is he dressing as a man? But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? What? Is that you? Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say anything sooner, Ray. It's just that— No! What are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you. You look for all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yumi University. A male student. Okay, alright, I was right. I'm so glad you think so. I need to give her like a fake manly voice. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see... It was the only way. The only way she would be permitted to the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female, alike. Oh, okay. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you'd go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. Ray. It's so strange though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet just because you're a woman... What a wretched reason. I mean, yeah, you guys live in a... What is it, the Meiji Dynasty right now? Women's rights aren't exactly great. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Okay, alright, don't look at me like that. Ray. Please don't look at me like that. With those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just... You really do look so dashing and sexy. What? I mean, yes, you... Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. Oh, you should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased. I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder? Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side, because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to me, Susato. Defendant, counsel, court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh. Stand aside! Oh shit. I think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this. Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? We should be making a move now too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student. Thank you, Father. Yeah, if we get caught, we're fucked. I'm Susato Mikitoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here? I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. Alright, here we go. This is our first case in this new season. The Great Ace Attorney. August 13th, 9 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 1. God, that still butchers me. Ah, yes, this guy. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Mibami. The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Bro, she looking a little fire. Holy shit. She looks pretty damn badass, not gonna lie. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency. We are ready. Ready? What the fuck kind of... Okay, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryutaro Naruhodo? Is that correct? Sorry? Oh, yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. I'm afraid to say, I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Wait, you fucking thought of Naruhodo? Well, counsel?
Yeah, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryotaro, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan.
It seems Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold this manly act first and not overdo it. So I gotta say, that is pretty fucking feminine of your voice. But anyways. And those wild eyes aren't doing you any favors.
Naruhodo? A fresh face in this courtroom. If I'm not mistaken. Typical. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be?
You may be thinking of Rinosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is, his cousin. That's right. Ryotaro here has been studying the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them.
Tut, tut, tut. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused is to call in a country boy, a bumpkin, a lawyer boo. What? How dare you? Susato is every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Oh, please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are wont to flit. What? The fuck does what?
The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire.
Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock. Dear me.
Perhaps this would be an inappropriate moment for me to assist the defense, to determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now, this same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions?
Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency. Please do make them simple.
Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim.
Ooh, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried.
What's the matter?
Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are wont to blank.
It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances.
Oh dear, this is a dismal failure.
Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem.
Of course, the court record. Yes, the answers will be amongst all the key information about the
Hey, are you cheating? No. No. That's right, just press the E button. Then, what the what am I seeing in front of me? What is this?
It's so funny.
And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely.
Alright, check the court record.
I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case?
That would be Giselle Brett.
Yes!
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett.
A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own Empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record.
Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Behind the woman student persona was the face of... Queen Victoria. Yeah, she's the victim. A victim, obviously.
The victim's role is already taken, Counsel, as you should know.
That answer came with such misguided confidence, I was almost taken in. I thought it sounded a little odd.
Leave me out of this.
Check the... Oh, the killer, yeah. I thought they meant literally... Well, I mean, she's technically the victim. Okay, sorry. A killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumi University was killed. And the culprit was... Giselle Brett.
Yes, she was a killer. A bad killer. A smooth killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain. And it was in the midst of his delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikitoba. Well, yes, oh. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensics medicine. Oh, it was her. Sorry. It was her voice. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed, it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yumi University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense. I don't even know who's talking anymore. And exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett, who, by the way, was allowed to just go scot-free because of the whole because of the relation with national diplomatic relations or something like that. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion.
Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our Empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai?
There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our Empire's obligation was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. Wait, so then why did she... Okay.
And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed. Meh. Only the day before?
That will do. I am satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant.
Oh. Thank you, Your Excellency. The first hurdle. Finally.
Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Archie.
Don't mind my pose. As you wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on August 11th in broad daylight. Oh, I mean, well, it's actually a beautiful day. On the outskirts of the Imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, a secluded bathing spot by the sea. Yeah, it's a perfect place for bathing.
Why are you talking like that?
Oh, don't mind me. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut, erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. And then she got knocked the fuck out. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung. An injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett, in her bathing attire, and the accused, Ray Mebami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
Okay. The judge is like, what the fuck? Okay. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true. The prosecution's summary was full of words that raised an awful lot of questions. The lawyer really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about... Yeah, what, the powerful motive. What was the motive? You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. Tut, tut, tut. Is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand? I beg your pardon? No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Ebami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yumi University, I believe? Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment.
I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility.
Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then? I was studying under Dr. John... Oh. Dr. John H. Wilson. Ah, fuck me.
Well, okay. Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago?
Okay, alright, now okay, that makes sense. The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. He's back. Yes, he is. Well, hello, the man. He's back. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the English woman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. I can listen while I look for spelling mistakes. Yes. Oh no, Ray, be careful what you're saying. Haha, checkmate. You've activated my trap card. You've just admitted the motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking about dinner. Well, it was clearly a trap all along.
How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. Let's find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about... Okay, so we now know what the motive is. The bathing spot or the being the lone... Yeah, hold on. Are we sure that they were alone? Mebami-san. Yes, what is it, Susa? I mean, Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryotaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place. And why you were alone with her. French is a sexy man. Oh, thank you. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There was totally no yaoi things going on. There were other people present. A detective who was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. Why am I starting to sound like Joker all of a sudden? Yeah, me too. Why the fuck? The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No! Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. Those darn Chinese ports and their safety. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again. He's got a point, yeah. Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel.
The prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that. But for now, at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let them goad you.
Dear, this is really terrifying. The father's right. We need more information. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution. Alright. Pick the bathing spot now. That's the last one. If I may, Prosecutor Achi. What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. Ah, my apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. I went there myself in the bathing suit. It was quite nice, but everyone kept screaming when they saw me. Probably because of how fabulous I was. Anyways, we are told that the bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skins. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, has been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry? Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at her country's wonderful coast. And the British embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But on what grounds would we agree to such a request?
Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal.
Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But, in fact, a murder took place. I said don't look at me. It was the young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proved that yet.
I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago.
What is she accused of? So, okay, so Flayed, if you were here at the very beginning, let me show you real quick. So this woman that was murdered, this Giselle Brett, she was the antagonist or the murderer from the very first game. She was accused of basically killing Herlock Sholmes' medical guy, Mr. John H. Wilson, who is also, I believe, the father of that young inventor girl from, you know, the previous other half of the game. But apparently, Miss Raymond Bami is being prosecuted for the murder of Giselle Brett, who's a murderer, who got off scotch-free because she was British, and the Japanese government didn't want to cause a huge scene by arresting her, despite the evidence proving that she was the murderer. But ironically, she ended up getting murdered. But we're here to prove Raymond Bami's innocence. That's why we're here. All right.
Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murder of the mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray.
So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to reuse this exhibit. A photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image.
As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden.
Okay. The court will accept this photographic print as evidence. Okay. As I understand it then, the victim and the defendants were alone inside the beach huts at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally, the prosecution has much more to its case.
Raymond Bommie gonna get us kicked out. Yep, you're right.
We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence.
Witnesses? But who? Oh, forgot to tell you.
Fuck me. One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no doubt in the room.
Holy shit! He's good. He got better. Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses. And please make sure that they're not weirdos like the last time.
I cannot guarantee, but I, Taketsuchi Anchi, have been waiting for this very moment. Behold. I'm sorry? Oh yes, I haven't forgotten. That trial 9 months ago has left a huge scar on me. Here in this very courthouse. When that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me.
Want means inclined. Ah.
Ryunosuke Naruhodo!
Yeah?
This insult to the Achi family name will never be forgotten.
Oh, but fuck you. You've become conceited with age, counsel. But the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Brother. Man literally just assaulted him and he forever took that to heart. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had his hair up. I forgot that.
Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died, and out of the ashes a phoenix rose.
This is kind of cringe, but the start of your own mini Meiji revolutions? Are you modernizing as well, counsel?
Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle on top of my head.
Wait, so you're telling me that this man has not been in court in 9 months? Damn. That man really took it to heart.
Observe the Achi growth. You see this seed of hope sprouting forth the barren expanse of my crown.
What the fuck is that? I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where is this? I can't see it from here.
I said silence. Today I face another Yoko student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you. And my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
Looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each has much to lose.
A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life.
Well, sorry, I was just pointing it out.
Oh my god, they're back! Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. Oh, and I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital in fact. Yes. Soon to be sold out. The Satirical I Am a Cat, a sensational success by Soseki Nasumi.
My goodness.
Struggling student from the provinces, please, you need to be in awe of me.
I needn't?
It's only natural that you'd feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki even.
Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here?
Tread carefully, Susato. That Arthur fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? He exposes you for who you really are. This will be over before it's begun.
Yeah, of course, I know. Presuming Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me, I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that's been since I last saw him. And as for the Inspector Hosonaga, amazing outfit is hard to believe.
Is that a turtle? Motherfucker, is that a turtle on his head? Do I have something on my face?
Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either.
Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, isn't it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business does a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san? Oh, well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yumi University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less.
At Yumi University?
After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. A professor over there, in fact.
With with Professor Mikotoba?
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. Oh, gotta write that down,
Huh?
As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure. My provincial, struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies.
Thank you very much. He practically threw that paper at me.
Okay. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken to custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course.
At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brent to go as long as a detective accompanies her.
That detective, I am at liberty to divulge, was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Naga? Sorry. Also have a turtle in my head.
Thereby, the entire party departed quarterly for the seaside, it seems.
It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duties flawlessly.
My Inspector, well, you do have something on your face now.
Ah, how unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean that you went to the beach too, Father? Oh, no. Fortunately, I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that as my assistant Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. Oh, but if only I had, I never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret.
Down, alright, regret. Yeah, write that down.
Very well. I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. And oh, get that journal. I thought this was private. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Sorry, I'm bleeding here. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret I am. There we go. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. Oh, I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Killer is Iris Wilson as an act of revenge for killing her father, trust me. Yes. That young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in her hand, as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. Sorry. Indeed. It does appear from his testimony that both witnesses here present salt. The very moment of this heinous crime.
What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Oh yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, Counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moment, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer.
What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more.
Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah, the owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Mbami? Initials of the defendant.
No! Ah, my pride.
This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence.
Alright. So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel.
I don't understand. The prosecutor Achi of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
Yes.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san?
Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me.
Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom?
Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom.
Cousin Ryutaro, pull yourself together, please.
Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do.
Alright.
Hold it!
In that jaunty disguise? Correct. Oh, wait, no. I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn the swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance. Those were my orders that day. And this tried and tested outfit was the answer? Being able to blend flawlessly into the crowd is an important part of a detective's job. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only my turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. How long have you had that turtle on you? Mr. Turtle loves the water. Aw. That is a cute-ass turtle. Oh, yeah, that's true. The defense has nothing to say against that. But there was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really, was there? Let alone have your turtle, much as it's cute. If that made you late arriving on the scene, I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong. Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment.
Hold it!
Okay, you were fishing? Are you streaming with the delay? Oh shoot, yeah, sorry, I thought I turned it off. I guess it was too late, so... I'm not sure why. If it seems a little wonky, my apologies, but I thought I did turn it off. Let me check again. Check. Yeah, it should be off. I don't know why it's... It's whatever. It'll probably fix it the next time I stream, but... In more literary terms, you might say it was a scream that could have pierced the heavens. Yeah! Or the like. Of course, that's just a metaphor. We renowned authors are wont to describing things so... Seki-san wasn't at all like this in England. Anyway, I spun around at the noise and the beach hut immediately fell under my gaze. Yes, the beach hut. The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for rest and recuperation. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always very quiet. The beach hut is a simple structure erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Although the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change into my swimwear on the sand. Ah, I imagine that was rather embarrassing for you. Oh, anyway, I tossed the crab aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. Or, in more literary terms, I decrabbed and beetled off hut-wise.
Hold it!
Wait, by parry, you don't mean to say... But how could that be? Oh, no, you misunderstand. Obviously, I mean the victim and the defendant, Rei Mibami-san. Oh, it would have been helpful if you could have just said that from the outset. If you jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes. Dear me, pinning your hopes on such an outside chance. Foolish. Very foolish. Well, it was an outside chance. I just wish I'd realized that before I said something silly. So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court how exactly you found the aforementioned pair in the hut? Well, it was a sorry sight, a really grisly scene. I parted the Norrin curtain hanging in the doorway and stopped inside only to see the defendant leaning menacingly over the lifeless body of the victim sprawled on the sand. My glasses very nearly cracked at the ominous sight that met my eyes. How thoroughly appalling. Doesn't appear to be lying here. Well, Soseki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Hosonaga is saying, I wonder? You like a literary man's opinion?
Hold it!
Stabbed wildly? You actually saw her do it? Oh, indeed. Terrible spectre, the terrapin inspector, the bloody torrent, the author's torment. Oh, torment, gotta write that down, Eek! Every sight and every sound is still carved in my melancholy memory. Melancholy? I don't know anymore. That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation.
Oh, so what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream?
Oh, no, sorry. No, what are you insinuating? I'm as manly a Japanese man as you. I wonder if I might interject here, Suseki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression, or your words just now, I believe. Ah, so do you mean to say you're not confident that you really did see what you've described? Oh. A journal right behind me? Oh, where is it? No, I mean, yes. I know what I saw. My ears didn't deceive me when I heard that scream. Hence, my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish it all in tomorrow's newspaper serial.
Sorry. Yeah, hold on one sec. One moment. I'm dying. It sounds as though the next installment of I Am Academy take a macabre turn.
I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become.
Oh dear, how awkward.
Hold it!
He was stabbed multiple times? How can you be so sure?
Very simply, from the blood on the blade.
The blood?
When I entered the hut, I saw the defendant holding the blade raised up in the air. Yes, that's right, I saw it too. Oh. And I noted that there was blood on the blade already at that point. In other words, the victim had already been stabbed at least once by the time I arrived on the scene. Yes, that's right, I saw it too. And the victim was already holding the defendant's fountain pen in her hand. All of which means I can be sure the victim did not die instantly. Yes, right, I saw it too.
Maybe a year in London was too much for him. He sounds like he's forgotten how to speak Japanese.
The logic of your argument is sound at least. Well, as I said, it is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly.
Perhaps it should have been your guiding principle to protect the victim flawlessly. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Oh, shit! I think he coughs up blood whenever he's nervous. Yeah. Counsel, you are refrained from mocking the witness.
Oh no, I just have so many thoughts whirling around in my head. All I can do to stand here wide-eyed and mute.
Goodness, my dear, you really must try to stay calm.
But how am I supposed to find any inconsistencies in what these two gentlemen are saying? See why either of them would have any reason to lie.
What you must remember, I think, is what that witness may inadvertently lie at. Various reasons: a misunderstanding, a mistaken observation, a delusion, even.
Delusion.
What's important is that we determine the truth. There's only one way to sure to do that.
Yeah, with evidence, of course.
Spoken like a true judicial assistant. During witness testimony, you can... Okay. Yeah, I know. Skip the toilet.
Yes, it's all about inconsistencies.
Once you've identified a witness's statement that appears to conflict with a piece of evidence, present the evidence to the witness. And the way ahead will present itself to you, I'm sure.
Yes, alright then. I'll consider the details of all the evidence in the court records against each statement to find inconsistency. I'm up to the task.
Don't forget that you can have the witnesses repeat the statement as many times as you like. Everyone has to start at the beginning, remember. Those wide eyes are quite forgivable. Besides, there's no one else to defend the poor girl.
Right. I need to listen to the testimony again from the start.
What do we have? we not look at it? This is interesting. Okay. Nothing seems to be stolen. A mask. Multiple times. Okay, I guess that's the only thing I can prove is that...
Objection!
Yeah, she was stabbed once. That accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of that menacing pose, Council? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who? What? Where? When? How? Oh, that's a good one. I'll write that down. Not you, Soseki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the hut. The defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What?
Get to the point, please, Counsel.
In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only.
Oh,
Dumb bitches. In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. Oh, and Soseki-san. Me? You claim to have seen Membami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. Wildly. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point. That there was already blood on the knife and you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and? It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there's no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. True.
Then what exactly is your contention, Counsel? You ever going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. I can't.
Excellent work, Susanoo. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection, attempting to steal the show.
You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair.
Slander! I mean, my head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing in multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference. What? Why not? Engaging your brain. Come on, me young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon to the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witness saw. The knife was already tainted with blood, because the accused had already stabbed the victim.
Ah, how could I have been foolish?
All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustache Arthur is prone to moments of extravagance. Ah, my pride.
I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient ground for actions to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade...
Then we are back where we started.
Sorry?
Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim, and with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too? The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good.
Why did Ray pull out the knife?
Ah, yes. Going for the jugular.
What does father mean by that?
Let the court hear your answer then, counsel.
Truth is, I don't really know. I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife's blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could... Obviously she didn't try to stab her again. I guess save her life? According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant.
That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury.
Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence, it clearly indicates her killer.
The point is, being a medical research assistant, Mbami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the knife out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life.
You fucking idiot.
Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here?
Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify, in respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the Yoko Defense Counsel, I mean.
Slipshod?
An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense's counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly.
I don't know, man. You've been you got one lie.
Sorry, counsel. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medicine research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
Okay, that's true. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily?
Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed.
Oh, I see.
This is why yokel should stay on the farm, peasant. Even a quake from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit.
Father, is it true what they're telling me?
Yes, it's basically remedial knowledge from medics.
Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
I don't know.
Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but did my friend actually have...
Susato,
Yes?
pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah,
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I will be moving to my education immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. Knew it would be hard, but no idea it would be this hard.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you used due care and attention, it would be alright?
I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out really, but the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it.
Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Ah,
Back to the witness testimony, please.
actually, let's check what evidence we got. So we got... I guess I'll keep pressing. In that case, there's an obvious explanation here.
Which is?
Clearly, the defendant, Rei Mebami-san, does not possess an ounce of sense.
What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. You literally just called her stupid.
Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer.
Did I raise a tardo? What did you just say?
I don't know young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it.
Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. For example, I could just, forget common sense and just, throw this fucking giant-ass gavel in your face.
Oh dear. That recoiled on me rather badly.
That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn. Hopefully you can see that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Mebami-san would certainly have been aware of it.
Hold it!
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently.
I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would have behaved so irrationally.
Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it?
Oh dear. You have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views.
Oh my god, this is so rich. Oh god. Oh dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona take hold a little too much.
Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument.
Hold it!
Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Mibami-san's nature to do something so horrible.
But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against.
But you don't know the defendant. And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law.
Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the courts of your arguments, not feelings.
With this fledgling defender, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I.
Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please.
Ah, yes, Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Mibami-san.
Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mibami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him.
Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mibami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point.
This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
Chisato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals.
The fundamentals?
Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it?
Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You didn't need to take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too.
Ah,
I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. If you need reminding the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my best to help.
examine the evidence. Okay, an idea certainly. What should I do? I know what to do. I want to think of it. Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yeah, I need to examine things in greater details with spacebar, whatever that means.
Oh, by the look in your eyes, I think you found the spacebar. Good. Go through the cult record again.
Alright. Alright, let's take a look. Can I? Oh, okay, I can actually open it. There's some sort of emblem here. Look. But it isn't a Yumi University one.
It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. That would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray.
We take off the pen's lid.
Oh.
Okay. Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we?
Oh.
Okay, I guess we'll keep going. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you filled by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just thought that doesn't actually appear to be ink in there at all. There's no ink, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose.
Okay. So...
a found pen that bears the initials RM and an emblem of some description. There is a small amount of liquid still inside the ink reservoir. Okay, so pulling a blade from the wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Not forget that the young student did have a motive. And that the man the victim murdered 9 months ago was the defendant highly respected. Okay.
So we have to prove there's a reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife. So or the RM initials are very clearly engraved there. The fact that Miss Brentwood is clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too. Identify her killer, you mean? I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. I just don't see it. It's the newspaper from Soseki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yumi Medical Research Laboratory. Yumi's Medical Research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen. It's this morning's paper that Soseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? Embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I heard any such thing. On earth could the reporter have gleaned this information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there? A highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I'd put Ray in charge of the project. Ray? She was managing it? If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. Moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. You need to read this article very carefully. Rachos, England, returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Soseki-san, is it, father? Looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. Okay. So the only reason I can think of maybe why she pulled it was that the knife had poison on it. Maybe. Let's look at these again. So that's basic knowledge that any medical assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. Yeah, so it has to be this one. So the only thing I can think of is either meiosis. Oh, this is so hard.
Objection!
Oh, I guess it was that. No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What? The Yoko not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article.
An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Yumi unit. The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in the case. But
Prosecutor Hachi, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article. The court cannot rely on this kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel, for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency. Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says, the poison was apparently stolen from a medical research laboratory at Yumi University.
Yes, it would seem so, calling the department's security practices into question.
The very department the professor standing so nonchalantly opposite me, I believe.
Riatora.
Oh, yes, Father?
Was there some reason you felt it necessary to highlight the fact that the theft occurred in my department?
How can I explain it? It was the first detail I cast my eye over, I suppose.
I suggest you read the article again carefully.
I'm so sorry. Oh dear, Father's fuming. The reason why the defense pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says, deadly in tiny quantities. I guess tiny quantities? The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body and a knife laced with poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Are you suggesting...
If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mibami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
What?
Well, yeah, objection. This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold. Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the students should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then. Well, the argument makes no sense.
Oh, hold on. Okay, time out. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to defend this girl, but even if there was a bit of poison, the damage is already done. That woman had like, what? 2 inches of, or 2, maybe 3 inches of that blade inside her that pierced her lung. So even if like she pulled it out and tried to do some wacko medical professional shit on her, the woman's already dead from the poison. She'll either die from the hemorrhaging first, or she'll die from the poison. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, Yoko? Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What? You can't possibly.
From your expression, counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. well aware of that. Seen it many times. From my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, Consul, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article?
Wait.